Hello everyone, welcome to our channel. They were looking for pirate treasure on an abandoned island when they heard gunshots. Who could it be? Don't think that this is some kind of horror movie. The kids are in terrible danger. How will they get out of this situation? Find out right now. Once upon a time there lived a boy named Pete who dreamed of becoming a real pirate just like the ones he read about in books. One day while flipping through the pages of an old book, he found a picture of a strange island that was said to be filled with chests overflowing with gold coins. The thing was that no one knew where exactly this place was located. However, Pete swore to find the island and decided to assemble a crew. The boy told his friend Lena about his plans and she immediately agreed to join him. Then they went to see Jack, the son of the local fisherman. The guy was always bragging about how great a navigator he was. And Pete thought that he would come in handy on their journey. But Jack turned out to be such a lousy sailor that their boat almost capsized on the waves. Luckily, they managed to fix it. And when the sun finally began to set, they saw an unfamiliar land in the distance. It turned out to be the very island from the book. As soon as the kids landed on the shore, they began to look around. The island turned out to be huge. There were palm trees everywhere and the ground was covered with green grass. In the center of the island, they found a clearing with a huge skull in the middle. Judging by its size, it must have belonged to some giant animal. By the way, this is how the ancient pirates used to mark their treasures. So the friends decided to split up and search for the treasure in different directions. After walking a bit, Pete came across a cave. He walked inside and froze. In front of him was a sight that he would never forget. There were so many chests piled up in the cave that it was difficult to believe that all of them were real. But before Pete had time to rejoice, a sudden noise made him jump. Startled, he ran away from the cave. The treasure was gone. Was someone else looking for treasure here? Or maybe it was a trap? Pete didn't know what to do next. He met up with Lena, who hadn't found anything. She listened to Pete's story, and they decided to check out the cave again, but the chests were really gone. Just then, Jack came running up to them, all out of breath. He explained that he had seen two men taking the treasure away. Pete immediately realized who was behind all this. These guys had sailed past on a boat and spotted the skull. That meant that they knew about the treasure and wanted to take it for themselves. Pete was very upset, but there was nothing to be done. The boys and the girl got into an argument. Jack claimed that he had always been against digging up the treasure because it was, quote, cursed. But Pete didn't want to listen to any of it and accused Jack of deliberately ruining everything. At that moment, Lena noticed something shiny under her feet. It was a small box. They opened it and found an old compass. This is exactly what they needed to find the treasure. But then they heard a loud voice. "Who's there?" A man came out of the bushes with a gun in his hands. His appearance made it clear that he wasn't friendly. He ordered the kids to raise their hands and get on their knees. "Where did you find the treasure?" he shouted at them. "We don't know what you're talking about," Lena answered, trying not to make eye contact with the stranger. She signaled to Pete and Jack with her eyes. They should give her a few moments alone with the man. When the others nodded, she continued, "I beg you, please don't hurt us. We're just kids." The man hesitated for a moment. "All right, I won't hurt you, but I want you to take me to the treasure. Quickly." As soon as they reached the cave, the man rushed inside and soon came back outside holding a chest full of gold coins. "You can go away now," he said and disappeared into the bushes. At that moment, Lena couldn't hold back her tears anymore. She started crying and said that she wanted to go home. Of course, no one said a word during the whole time, but Pete and Jack understood perfectly well what she was going through. Suddenly, Jack looked up and noticed the compass. It had started spinning rapidly. "Come on," he said. "It seems like it wants us to follow it." Without wasting a minute, they all three ran after the mysterious compass. It led them deep into the forest and soon they heard the sound of running water. When the trees parted, they saw a beautiful waterfall in front of them. "Wow," whispered Lena. No one had ever seen anything like this before. But the beauty of the waterfall wasn't the only surprise. Behind it was another cave. Before they stepped inside, Pete suggested they should probably check if it was safe. He took the first step, then the second, and suddenly the ground gave way. He fell down along with the treasure chest. Fortunately, it cushioned his fall and saved him from serious injuries. Jack and Lena were in shock, but they had to come up with a plan quickly. Otherwise, they would spend the night in this dark place. Jack immediately took action. He climbed onto the ledge and began to lower himself down with the help of a vine. "Grab onto this branch," he shouted at Pete. But then suddenly the vine snapped. Both boys fell. Luckily, Jack grabbed onto the ledge in time, but Pete was hanging by his fingertips. Seeing that he was in danger, Lena didn't hesitate for a moment. She grabbed onto the same branch and began to climb down after him. The girl managed to save Pete, but at that moment, the ground under her feet collapsed. All three friends fell into the darkness. But when they finally opened their eyes, they realized that it wasn't that dark after all. Above them was a hole in the ceiling of the cave, which let in a bright light. What was even more surprising was that they found themselves in a completely different place. They were in a big cave filled with all kinds of precious stones. Gold, silver, and diamonds glittered in the semi-darkness. The friends looked at each other in surprise. Could this be the real pirate treasure? Lena approached the pile of coins and picked up a gold piece. It turned out to be real. The girls' eyes sparkled with happiness. Their adventure turned out to be a complete success. But they spent so much time in the caves that they didn't notice how dark it got outside. The friends had no choice but to spend the night here. But this wasn't the worst part. They suddenly heard the sounds of heavy footsteps nearby. Someone or something was definitely coming their way. They tried to hide among the stones, but whatever it was, it smelled them and was getting closer. Startled, the kids grabbed onto the chests with precious stones and pulled themselves up to the ceiling of the cave. They hid there until morning. Only when the first rays of sunlight appeared in the sky did they climb down. As it turned out later, it was just a wild animal that had scared them. Relief washed over the friends. They were alive and nothing threatened them. But when they went to look for the exit, they realized that they had no idea where it was. All the caves looked alike. "I told you we shouldn't have dug up the treasure," Jack said sadly. Pete felt guilty. If it hadn't been for his idea, they wouldn't have ended up in this place. But he knew that arguing wouldn't solve the problem. Suddenly, Lena noticed that the compass was spinning again. It seemed to be responding to something. The kids followed it, and soon enough they found the right exit. They crawled out of the cave and saw the familiar skull in the center of the clearing. From there, it wasn't far to their boat. Soon the island disappeared from sight, and the kids were sailing back home. Their adventure was over. The most important thing was that they were alive and well. As for the treasure, it didn't really matter to them anymore. Each of them understood that friendship was much more important than gold coins. And that's all for today. Like the video and share it with your friends. Bye.